did you know that spawners have requirements? I know, sounds pretty straightforward, right? Yeah? Yeah, I didn't know. So, for instance, the slime spawner right now won't actually spawn anything. And that's the same thing for all the mobs. In fact, I kind of wish I had, checked the wiki, because I hadn't, and annoyingly, it says right here, a turtle spawner will only spawn turtles on sand blocks. And that goes for every single mob in the game, not just the ones that are listed here. So for instance, slimes, they will only normally spawn in a slime chunk, so a chunk that's been designated as slime, and so on. So like the normal light requirements and all that. If only I knew. There is, luckily, a very simple way around it. So for instance, if I were to type in here the ID of the entity I want to spawn as Minecraft.item, this will always be generated because items don't have any spawn requirements. They don't need grass, they don't need light. So really, really simple solution. Just chuck every mob I want to spawn as a passenger of an item. So I think this is correct. I hope it is correct. So it'd really help my point, if I could show it off properly. So for instance, if we do slime now, let's see. Well, it's generating the item, so that's good. So you can see the fire effect is working. I've just messed up the little passengers. It might be S after that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The point is, I have to rework this again. So all the spawners that were being generated in my dungeon system, which are all these missing blocks, this nice little puzzle segments, I have to rewrite and re-put in so that they generate as items and therefore are always able to spawn. Because spawning stuff on top of the nether, turns out you can't actually do a lot of mobs that way. And all my bosses as well, because sometimes I use slime, sometimes I use, like drown. Yeah, without water, no good. And water in the nether doesn't really mix. So, we are almost done, because I did fix everything else. I just have to do this, and then we can actually go through the dungeons properly this time. I'm gonna get to it. I should also note for anyone interested, this is what the kind of documentation looks like. So, here's my Word document. This is the spawner. I had to go in and I had to change this segment here to include passengers, and then to have the entities I'm trying to spawn, so a frog, for instance, as a passenger. I had to do that for all of them. Fun. Anyway, I'm going to get to work, and then we'll go through some cooler stuff. Well, that took longer than expected, so I had to kind of rework a lot more things than I initially thought I did, but tends to be the way when you're doing something this sort of complex. The spawners, the way I had them set up, wasn't going to work, so I was planning on using the max entities within the spawner's range, that whole mechanic, to sort of gate them, and that way it doesn't cause too much issues in terms of a little tick lag over here that's pretty high and got insanely high when I was testing. And the reason for that is because obviously I am now using items to spawn in mobs regardless of conditions, and therefore the entities that the spawner is looking for is said items. And because I'm not using an ID, that item doesn't exist, and therefore there is no actually max number of entities that will just endlessly spawn. So I had to really downsize the range it detects and activates for the player, as well as how many spawn, the intervals, yada yada yada. I think we're finally ready though to test it, so we'll hop into survival. I'm gonna go ahead and give myself, we'll do 30 levels, since that's, generally considered max, quote unquote. So this should take a little bit of time. So if I toss out the eye, cool, so we now get that first statement. You can watch the redstone load. Okay, so it says, a connection to the Nexus is being formed. You'll be notified in chat when the Nexus is ready. So you can see it's going through build check. It's counting up. It'll count all the way up to 30. And we're losing 1 experience each time it ticks. And then if I click on this, it gives me a little blurb. So dungeon generation takes... So dungeon generation takes approximately 2.5 seconds per room, with 1 room being generated per experience level consumed. The maximum number of rooms is 169, or 1,521 chunks. If you're able to generate this layout, it will take approximately 7 minutes to generate. A second eye may be used to enter the dungeon prematurely. Use at your own risk. So if I do throw out another eye, we get a different message this time. So the Jailer's Nexus already exists, and this will sort of allow players to join your dungeon and prevent them, doubling up and reforming the dungeon while one does exist. There's also a few other scoreboards going on. So for instance, while it just continues to build, if we swap over to a different display, we'll do difficulty first. So every time it builds a room, it increases our difficulty. And I think I'm going to use this as a long form tracker, so it will never reset. And depending on how many dungeons you generate, you will enter X thresholds of dungeon difficulty. So right now we built 30, so we're at 30 permanently. If I were to generate another one, it would continue to count up. The other two are our dungeon timer and our dungeon AFK. The dungeon timer, it is 71 minutes plus 1 minute for each room you generate, because this works out to 4 hours if you generate the max dungeon. So you have that amount of time to explore, after which the cleanup mechanism will trigger and the dungeon will, delete itself. And then the last one is dungeon AFK. So that's very similar as well. We don't have any scores yet, that's fine. So the way the dungeon AFK system works is depending on how long it has been since someone has entered the dungeon. So if there's no one in the dungeon after X amount of time, it will also trigger the cleanup mechanism. That way the dungeon doesn't just linger. Although there should be no issues, which is great to see. So there's no chunks loaded in the nether. They only are marked as loading while the system is building, after which they unload. So that's why we're still at that 36, which is really fantastic to see that that mechanism is working. We can also see that the redstone is there, and that's our little cleanup mechanism. But anyway, enough chit chat. Why don't we head on over? In fact, I do not trust myself because the dungeon is, set to be somewhat difficult. So we'll go in creative. Okay, and I'm glad I did, because right in my face is a crossbow. Okay, so we're in our resource room. So this is one of the rooms we can generate. Oh, there should be, yep, so there's some iron blocks in front of us. We can see there's a different room to this side. This is one of the, some cute little boxes. This is the easy set of rooms, so it's like muddy mangrove, yada yada. There's actually a boss room there, which is great to see. There's a couple spawners in it too. Anyway, there was a boss room here. So I do want to just obviously walk around and make sure everything's working. We're seeing, a bunch of different mobs. That's great. And, okay, so this is an issue first off. There is no boss spawner here. So that's something I need to look at. And I have a feeling the same is going to go for the other boss rooms too. Which is a bit annoying, because they are ones I reworked. I think we saw another boss room here, which means I have, done some sort of error. Actually, there is a boss room here. So if we get close enough, it should trigger. Yep, and we get our slime boss, as indicated by the walls. Oh, pretty nifty with all the different mobs around us. We will leave them be and continue to explore. So mobs will continue to generate, and we are obviously approaching some bad amounts of tick lag. Oh, there's another boss room here. I might have to downgrade how common these are then. So we got a zombie friend here. Ooh, okay, and that's worrisome. Okay, and we're at one corner. Are we at corner, or are we at... I think I haven't gone up, so I don't think we're at a corner, no. We're at one edge. If I go all the way on this side... Oh, and there's no boss room here, so that's good. Should probably try and count the boss rooms too. We should be able to reach one corner. So it should be 30 rooms makes it, what, 5? Oh, another boss room. So this should probably be the zombie again, yeah. Makes it 5 by 6, right? So 5 by 6 with each room being 3 by 3 in chunks. Ugh. How's the tick lag going? So it's still around 47, so it's a lot better than before. I easily, eclipsed 100. So we've seen 3 boss rooms, plus the resource room that wasn't working. It's fine. As long as we're seeing some pretty different stuff. No, another boss room. Bits worrisome. I think they're too common at this point. So yeah, so this is, obviously, the next step is I have to tweak and refine everything, make sure everything's working, and just balance it all, which is gonna be fun. Oh, spawner somewhere here. Perfect. It does look like everything is spawning, generating. Yeah, we're getting mobs that, would normally have X requirements. Good. This room's a bit empty. Yeah, it's fine. They're using all the different mob abilities too, so that's great to see. Another boss room. I'm going to assume it's the zombie. I haven't seen the third boss, which is no good. Yeah. Okay, I think we'll hop back over to the overworld, and we will just try the cleanup. And speaking of which, I need to also I need to change these a bit. They shouldn't work unless a dungeon is generated. Might be a bit hard to test for if it's not loaded. We have a medium room, so this saltish room. There should be probably one on each corner. So the way it's working so far is this first ring is easy, and then that's easy as well. Ooh, like that, and that. So that's the easy dungeon. And we're 5 by 6, so we're sort of generating this axis to this axis. Which means there should be a few, because the medium room should build in this sort of format, and then hard will be the same as well. So they sort of branch out in a circular motion. I think if you spend in the 80s, maybe, for level-wise, that's when you'll start getting hard rooms. So you do have to obviously invest a lot. The one good thing, if you do play on, say, a server, if people are nearby when you generate a dungeon, you'll all be marked, and you'll all be able to pull your experience together, making it a lot easier to get to that 169 level bracket. Oh, interesting. I like that horses can dismount. You know what? Do they have to be tamed for mobs as well? So I saw the Illager also get dismounted. So I might need to tweak that. You're going to just suffocate. But, you know, we've got our random generations. For the most part, there's a good amount of variation. All the mobs are spawning, so it's really good to see. I think if we go on this external side, we should run into, yep, perfect, more medium rooms. I was kind of hoping to see a boss, but doesn't look like we're seeing any. Turtle burning, not quite that, and I assume we're at the edge. We might try a bigger dungeon. I think that's probably best, that way I can make sure everything is working. Okay, so we'll go to the overworld, and you can also see... that's a bit wrong too. The dungeon AFK is 77. That should not be the case. Really need to write this stuff down. What about the dungeon time? Is that working? 93, and recording's about... yes, that's about right, about 8 minutes. Okay, anyway. TP... nope, sorry, I have to execute in overworld, yeah. Run, TP, do I have to do us? I think I do that, yeah. Perfect. And we're at the hub. Good, I should really take some of these with me, just so I can easily just throw them. Come back here. I don't actually know if they're set to the correct dimension. I might have to fix that. Okay. Right, we were going to test the cleanup mechanism. So if I set my scoreboard to 0, hopefully it runs its trigger. It should trigger this command block, right? And that sets it to -1, 3. So 2 this way, -1, and then 3. So it should put a block there, hopefully. Scoreboard, players, set at all, dungeon timer, 0. Interesting. So this says, execute unless entity at all scores equal dungeon timer greater than 1, run set block. Curious. What if we just get rid of that bracket now, and we just do set block? That work? No, that doesn't. You know what's going on. They're not updating correctly. No. That's what's going on. I have not set the block. Okay, we'll trigger it manually. I'm probably just going to dump this world anyway. So we trigger that. Puts one here. Which is great. Our scoreboards have reset. It should be slowly cleaning up, so this should continue to trigger. And it is essentially just doing the arm stands one by one, clearing up. So it should obviously take... well, not about... it's not the same time. It's half a second per room. So, was that? There's 30 rooms, should take 15 seconds, so it should be done by now. Let's hop back over to the dungeon. And, yeah, everything is cleared. The arm stands... nope, there are still some rooms that have not been cleared. Oh, there we can see. So it's slowly cleaning up, which is... well, it's pretty cool to see it in action, I guess. Just watching them vanish one by one. It's picking randomly, is another thing. This is obviously not a good way for me. I'd have to, you know, set up some weirder where it tags the system, and I might be able to increase it too. So right now it's doing one at a time. I might be able to make it do more than one. 30 by 30. Eventually the arm stand should disappear. Oh, we found some more rooms. Lava's clearing out. That's great. Missed a wall. Interesting. To be honest, the outer walls aren't really an issue. Obviously, you know, as long as you're playing this map, you can't build on top of the nether. That will be destroyed. I don't know, there's something fascinating about watching them slowly be deleted. And these, like, cross-sections. Yeah, so it's missing this external wall too. Well, actually, that got the wall. I don't know why this one did not. Slash, where even is the arm stand? Interesting. Because obviously they should all be encompassing the same size. They should be clearing the same amount of blocks. In fact, I don't know why this is starting there. I mean, if we look at the chunk boundaries, the arm stand would have been here. In fact, since the arm stand is gone, I'm going to assume they're all gone. Right, we don't see any armor stands. Oh, we see one. Where's your brethren? There's two, actually. Why do you still exist? There's a few. All the internal ones look like they're still existing. Slash tag. You have building clear, that's fine. Looks like it's tackled all the rooms. But it does not want to get rid of the arm stands. Interesting. Let's go back to our little overworld. Oh, it's fine. We will get to polishing up that later. So I do definitely need to rework the commands. I'm pretty sure I can just tack on a string that sort of limits the amount of entities it checks. Okay, so this is still running. I just want to check the chain. So it's executing at an arm stand. It is... okay. This is the issue. I don't want it executing at an arm stand that has been cleared. Similarly, this is killing items. It's fine. -1. Oh, that's wrong. This should be 48. That is an issue. I think I did 47 because the kill for the armor stands, this one, is execute at any armor stand who has that build tag if there is airbox. So obviously if it's not in a wall, it will delete itself. But a lot of them are not being deleted. Let's just try if we can trigger the end mechanism. So if I were to do kill at E, no, I have to execute in the nether, don't I? Executes in nether, run kill at E, tag equals build, with a capital B, got of 16. So some of them were deleting, it's just, it doesn't know which ones to pick up on. Do I have this set to a limit? No. So as soon as they're in the clear, they should be being deleted. But this redstone block disappeared, so that means the mechanism's done, and it's a closed circuit. Just with a few leaky channels. We'll go with that. Okay. Let's get crazy with it, I guess. So we'll head into survival, and I will give myself the maximum experience you can use to generate a room. So at all... 169 levels, and sorry, I had an afterthought. I've not closed the circuit in this regard yet. There's still an empty space here. So I need this last block to essentially trigger the close. Because right now, if you were to have, say, 170 experience, it would continue to try and minus, such nothing would actually trigger. So I need that last command block to trigger the end of the system as well. Which is a bit annoying, because I actually want to do more with it. But it is in the air, so I can build up. Anyway. Good view. Here you should be able to see both sides. And like I said, it'll take probably 7 minutes, so I'm going to speed it up. Enjoy. Well, that wasn't too bad. Did spike the lag, but is returning to normal. Which is why I've obviously spaced out all the generation. And 240? Right, 60, 120, yeah, 240. Okay, well, let's go take a look. This one, Jailer beckons. Ooh, and here's a boss right away, okay? And I need to go to creative. Okay, so we've gotten the challenge rooms, which is this section. I think that boss is from previous as well. So we should always start in the center as well. But we are seeing, different room variations. That's great. This is challenge. So the hardest versions of the rooms. We've got easy, working our way out. So if I go in a straight line from maybe the third one up, we should be able to see all the different difficulties. One thing I am noticing is there's not as many outpost rooms, which is essentially a one with tons of villages. Okay, that's also an issue. That spawner did not delete because this boss mustn't have the correct tag to trigger the command block underneath it. Oh, right, I need to do list. Yeah, okay, so... another thing to fix. That's going to be annoying. I need to get out of his range. This is going to be him again as well. No, this is the other boss. And that's fine, because it works. Getting a lot of... This is medium. Yeah, so... We continue a straight line, we get hard. Perfect. So, a little snow biome. No boss room, though. Is this powdered or not? Oh, actually, no, we got boss room. Boss is... a bunch of wolves. And why did your health decrease? They all teleport. This is annoying. Okay, and we're at the outskirts. So, I didn't actually count. So it should be 13 along. Let's see if we can figure that out. So it should be, this is 1. We'll try to remember where the boundary is. I think that should be 2. Should probably have picked a different segment. This would be 3 if there's 2 boss rooms. This is definitely 4. To be honest, this is doing the job, so I wanted to not really know where one starts and one ends, and it's kind of what we're getting. You're a problem. It feels like we're definitely traveling a while. I don't know why this is not generating. There is loot in it, so that's decent. How did I... Oh, you can right-click and take stuff out of bundles. Never knew that. Why did this one empty? Sorry, not empty. Delete itself. And then back to hard. So this should be the other end, and there should be 2 rooms. Another boss. Different boss. Or wolves again. No, we got the other boss. Okay, boss rooms, for one, are way too common. Just from the onset. Okay. This feels like it'll take more than another boss. This feels like it'll take more than 4 hours if you were to do everything seriously. And another boss. Yeah, bosses are way too common. Way too common. It's like 3 and 16. Shouldn't be that common. Anyway, we might as well. We can look from the outside. Let's go few distance, right? And hopefully it doesn't drop out. Yeah, and it's still pretty endless. Okay, so then the last thing I just want to test before we wrap this one up. I'm gonna get out of here. We've got our diamonds, so I can just do this quickly. Yeah, I was worried about that. They're not set to the overworld, so I did need to fix that as well. It should be executes in the overworld. Which is just overworld, right? Yeah. On TB 0200 0. Lag should die down because they're no longer loaded. Well, somewhat. Yeah, around 48. I want to see if the game wraps itself if I up how many rooms it tries to clear at once. So right now it's set to limit 1. I'm pretty sure if I do the whole 169, it's definitely going to crap out. I didn't fix this. No, so we're just doing it manually. So if I do that, wasn't too bad actually. Sort random. I feel like that might make it pick the same ones over and over again. Okay, let's see if it did do them all at once, because then I know I can do the cleanup mechanism a lot simpler. Because right now this is meant to loop, and that has issues in itself. Okay, so that didn't work. Oh. Is it because the chunks aren't loaded? The lighting updates alone, though, are a big issue. Yeah, the game's dead. So, don't do them all at once, is the correct understanding. I feel like all the chunks weren't loaded. Which is another sort of issue I can't place. I can place, interesting. So the way the layout mechanism's meant to work is it... No, I can't do entities. That's fine. So I load a set spot in the nether, and then I load any armor stands that are touching that section, and then they will touch the next section. So it will continue to load the nether until all the armor stands are loaded. Yeah, it's definitely the lighting updates. Well, there's work to be had. I can't even hit you, right? Yeah. Anyway. We'll leave this one there. Progress at least.